Who has had a bad week, Wojciech?
I'm giving a bad week to porn influencers in Sweden. Yeah, wait for it. The government has submitted a bill to the Riksdag, so their parliament, with proposals for, quote, legislative amendments that will strengthen protection against child rape, fraud against the elderly, and crimes with gender as a hate crime motive, end quote.
Okay, that's a lot to process. Fraud against the elderly. I mean, what does any of this stuff have to do with porn or porn influencers?
Okay, so if you read the full version of the bill's explanation, you'll see it includes a proposal to criminalize the purchase of sexual acts performed remotely, meaning via the internet, which, in case anyone's wondering, is pretty much the entire business model of OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Yeah. So now tell me, how familiar are you with OnlyFans, Katy?
Oh, well, Wojciech, a lady never tells. I mean, vaguely familiar, I guess. Like, I can honestly say I have never been on the website. I do know, fun fact, it is owned by a Ukrainian American.
Oh.
And do you remember a few weeks ago, I was trying to find examples of like great European tech companies, and it was quite a short list. We should have added OnlyFans. That is the great European tech company that's been missing from the landscape, maybe.
Very interesting. It didn't come up in my research, but I wasn't doing so much of a background research on OnlyFans itself.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
So for those who hear this name for the first time, for example, my wife heard the name but didn't know what it was, it's a subscription-based platform launched in 2016 where creators, mostly adult performers, sell exclusive content directly to their fans, often of a sexual nature. This platform skyrocketed during the pandemic. Sex workers lost their in-person income altogether and could make up for it online thanks to OnlyFans. Now the platform boasts over 190 million registered users.
Wow.
And top creators reportedly earn millions per month. It has basically started a new era in the adult entertainment business.
But this website, OnlyFans, it's not just used for selling porn, right? Like, I think I have heard of even some kind of mainstream celebrities having quite big followings there as well.
Yeah, that's true. According to some very rigorous reporting from BuzzFeed that I'm comfortably relying on right now, stars like Cardi B, actress Bella Thorne, that I've never heard of before, Australian rapper Iggy Azalea, even DJ Khaled have all joined the platform.
DJ Khaled is on OnlyFans.
Yeah, but don't worry, he's not posting adult content. That probably could not be unseen.
I wouldn't judge him if he was.
Me neither. I just wouldn't be up for it, probably. But these celebrities use OnlyFans to offer exclusive behind-the-scenes access to their lives and careers, like tours, rehearsals, studio time.
Okay.
DJ Khaled, what I read, reportedly shares life advice and motivational pep talks. So if you're up for it. Also, I have never been to OnlyFans before, but now I specifically went to his OnlyFans, and you can subscribe for free.
Oh, that's nice.
If you're up for a free advice from DJ Khaled, there you go.
That's where to get it from. Well, that sounds very wholesome.
Yeah. Anyway, some of these celebs have played a huge role in boosting the platform's popularity, partly by blurring the lines between entertainment and adult entertainment. And it's not just widely popular with users, there's a whole ocean of content creators too, because OnlyFans made it possible for anyone to become an adult content influencer without ever leaving home, attending castings, meeting your clients in person, or hiring a manager. And that's exactly the kind of shift the Swedish government now seems uneasy about.
If you told me that there was a European government that was getting a bit suspicious of OnlyFans, I wouldn't have guessed that it would be the Swedish government. Like, you tend to think of Sweden as having a not particularly prudish culture when it comes to sex.
Right?
It's surprising, no?
That was my impression too. But their approach to sex is more nuanced and complex. The stereotype probably comes from the Sweden being a pioneer in progressive legislation around sex, like introducing sex ed, legal contraception, and access to abortion very early. They actually started those reforms before World War II.
Wow.
And by 1955, sex education was already mandatory in all Swedish schools, which is a funny thing because in Poland, it's still a very hot topic of debate.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, here in France, which also, has a famously permissive attitude towards sex, I don't think sex education was mandatory until, it must have been the mid-1990s.
Yeah, so you see, Probably that's where the stereotype stems from.
Yeah.
Okay, but back to the new law. So Sweden has long had regulations commonly known as the Nordic model, which this is very important for the comprehension of this, so now bear with me.
Okay.
So Nordic model, it criminalizes buying sex, but not selling it. So in plain terms, sex work itself isn't illegal, but paying for it is.
Okay.
So we're trying to limit the demand, right? Pimping, brothel keeping, or managing a porn star or an OnlyFans influencer are also criminalized. And this new law basically aims to close the loophole created by platforms like OnlyFans, where people can purchase sexual services online without facing legal consequences.
Okay, but if it's going to outlaw purchasing sexual services, does that mean that porn as a whole would be illegal in Sweden?
No, that's actually one of the questions that popped up in my research very early. And I have to say that the answer made my head spin. The underlying belief behind these laws is that prostitution is typically exploitative for the sex worker, as it involves a financial transaction for physical intimacy or sex. The whole Nordic model is designed to reduce demand, help people leave sex work, and ultimately lessen harm to those involved. But somewhat surprisingly, pornography is treated differently. It's considered a form of freedom of expression, where production and distribution are consensual and viewed as adult entertainment. And like, boy oh boy, doesn't that also involve people being paid for physical intimacy?
Right.
Haven't we heard enough about exploitation in the porn industry? I understand the concept, but I guess the gray zone is vast, and I guess there is so many ways you can avoid, these limitations. Does that red line make sense to you?
I mean, it feels like a very blurred line, and I just feel really ill-equipped to know how to feel about it. Like, from what I do know of the porn industry, I know that there is a lot of exploitation within it. People often find themselves forced to work within it. They have bad working conditions. And at the same time, there is a libertarian side of me that instinctively wants to say, if consenting adults want to do that kind of work and they enjoy that kind of work and make good money out of it and like it, they should be free to do that, So I feel really mixed about it.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. And these lines, these blurred lines, as you called them, very rightly so, they have massive implications for OnlyFans. Because what the platform offers, and what made it explode in popularity, is how easily buyers can commission and purchase buyer-influenced content.
Buyer-influenced content, so like bespoke porn? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, exactly. And most top earners make their money not just from subscription, but by selling custom-made videos to individual customers or connecting with them on one-on-one video calls.
Oh, so they would hear, their own name mentioned, for example, or something like this, I imagine.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure how these calls look, but probably they're very sexy.
Sure.
And under Swedish regulations, this falls closer to prostitution than to pornography. So if the bill passes, this kind of activity would effectively be banned.
And how are people who actually work in this industry reacting to this Swedish proposal? What are the people who sell their content they're saying? What are the officials from OnlyFans saying?
Yeah, so OnlyFans, they are reportedly seeking a meeting with Sweden's Minister of Justice, Gunnar Strömmer. Though the last time I checked, there hadn't been any response from the government. As for content creators, there's already been pushback. The Red Umbrella Sweden, an organization representing Swedish sex workers, together with the European Sex Workers Alliance, published an open letter to the government strongly criticizing the proposed law. Let me read you a part I found most emblematic for this letter. So it goes like this. This proposal represents a regressive and dangerous step that threatens the human rights, privacy, safety, and livelihoods of sex workers and digital creators in Sweden and beyond. Under the guise of protecting vulnerable individuals, this proposal risks intensifying state surveillance, expanding unaccountable policing of digital platforms, and reinforcing a legal regime that systematically erases the consent, autonomy, and voices of sex workers themselves. End quote.
So they basically don't feel like this would actually help them very much at all.
I don't think so.
Is this bill actually likely to pass?
So this is very hard to tell at this point. I'm not Swedish. I have not listened to 50 talk shows about it. It feels like the framing of prostitution as a form of violence against women and a societal harm has been a consistent narrative in Swedish policy. Somehow, this government has included measures to combat prostitution and human trafficking in its 2025 budget bill.
Oh.
And this is one of the initiatives falling into this package. But you know what? As some of you know, we're working on a series of stories about how different European countries approach key policy areas, a mini-series called Who Does It Best? And I've been diving into drug policies across the continent. And there are striking parallels here. Both sex work and drug use are heavily stigmatized, even though they are eternal standing parts of our societies. Governments try to regulate them through various, mostly restrictive measures, supposedly to protect the people involved. But in both cases, it's surprisingly rare to see policymakers actually listening to those they claim to be protecting. And I'm not saying I have a definite stance on how sex work should be regulated. I think it's probably very complicated, just as I'm learning with drugs, there are no easy answers. But in researching this story, it became clear that many sex workers report overwhelmingly positive experiences with the platform, especially when it comes to safety, autonomy, and privacy. Will those voices be heard? I really hope so.
Yeah, I really hope so too. I mean, like I say, I know way less about this policy area than I would like to. Maybe we should make a 4th episode of Who Does It Best about regulating sex work. But yeah, I fully believe you when you say that your research showed that sex workers have largely had positive experiences with OnlyFans and that, relatively speaking, it feels like a safer working environment for them. Also, speaking as an independent creator of content myself, not sexy content, I should add, extremely unsexy European podcasts.
Are we not sexy?
Well, I'm not going to kink shame. If people are into European politics as something that they find sexy, good for them. But yeah, I feel like any platform that gives individual producers of this content more direct control over the money that is being generated by their work, rather than most of it going to some kind of pimp or like porn overlord, that has got to be a good thing, no? And I'm sure it's not that simple. I know there are still cases of exploitation on sites like OnlyFans.
Oh, absolutely.
But porn is always going to exist. And if it is going to exist, this feels like a business model that at least has the potential to redress a bit of the power imbalance in favor of the people who are actually performing.
Yeah, so this segment in no ways is supposed to defend OnlyFans or porn industry. I think there's also a detrimental side to porn industry, just like there is a huge detrimental side to the drug industry or the drug market. But I think we should really just focus more on what these people are up to, what they have to say, and how would they like their profession to be regulated, because it's not going to go anywhere. We've had sex workers back in the ancient times, and they suddenly won't disappear, so let's maybe listen to them. That would be a great idea. And lastly, I have to admit that the adult entertainment industry has been on my radar for years, ever since I came across the brilliant documentary series by Lina Misitis and John Ronson, The Butterfly Effect and The Last Days of August, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard The Last Days of August, but I have heard The Butterfly Effect. That's a great podcast series.
The latter is even better, I think, in terms of, all the psychological implications and the power dynamics. It's really on point. And I guess sex work industry is a truly fascinating microcosm that reflects so much about our societies, from norms to stigmas, morality, taboos, and prejudices. So if I didn't bore you to death with this Sweden versus OnlyFans story...
Which you didn't.
Oh, thank you. I just think you'll all love those series too. So heartily recommend those.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, I'm totally going to check out that second series. Both of them well worth your time, apparently.